January 10, 2018, we went to Chile. Katie and Willie Grove and Mike and Barb Cantlin from Columbus, Brian and Julie Noko from New York, and Jen Noko from Las Vegas. Chris Lang was to follow a week or so later. Mike, Barb, Julie, and Katie remained in Santiago to start a land tour of Chile, while Brian, Jen, and I continued to Punta Arenas for an unforgettable trek, the Pine Circuit in Torres Del Paine, Patagonia.
Nice breeze!
Standing at the top of the John Gardner mountain pass, having been pummeled by rain, wind, and snow for most of the day, the small group of trekkers stood in awe of the amazing sights of Patagonia. This is the story of an amazing 7-day adventure in the southern Andes Mountains, trekking through breathtaking scenery on one of the most beautiful mountain trails in the world, the Torres Del Paine O Circuit Trek. My name is Gavin Cooney. I'll be narrating this one about my opa. That means grandpa in Afrikaans. Willie Grove, trekking in the Andes Mountains. On a rainy morning in early January 2018, my opa set out from Puerto Arenas in Chile, South America for the Torres Del Paine National Park. Opa was joined by his friend Brian Noko and Brian's daughter Jennifer. They traveled from Punta Arenas to Puerto Natales, where they stopped for lunch. After lunch, they continued to Torres Del Paine in the Andes Mountains. Along the way, they stopped to play with the herd of guanaco, a member of the llama family. The dramatic Andes Mountains, with the Torres Del Paine spires in the background. They entered the Torres Del Paine National Park and checked in at the Hotel Las Torres. Before dinner, their guide Tomas took them for an assessment trek to determine their ability level. It was a beautiful introduction to the difficulties to follow during the next week. Dinner was Opa's favorite, Chilean lamb cooked over an open fire. Opa helped cut up the lamb because he was after the marrow inside the bones.
Since our friend Tomas here is having us on our trail at 7 in the morning. Buenas noches, muchas gracias.
No, de nada, buenas noches.
Our first real hike today. And what's the name of this trek?
Base of the Towers.
Base of the Towers. That's what
Today was another test, trekking from Hotel Las Torres to Base Las Torres, the base of the 3 Blue Rock Formation Towers, after which the Torres Del Paine National Park is named. Paine means blue in an ancient Indian language of this area. Trekking at first was easy, and they took a break at the Refugio Chileno. Soon after leaving Refugio Chileno, they were scrambling over boulders, gaining a total of 3,000 feet in elevation in the 18-kilometer trek. It took almost 5 hours to get to the towers, but the spectacular view of the towers reflected in the blue-green glacial lake at Mirador Las Torres made it all worth it. The sight was breathtaking.
I'd say this view is in many ways more spectacular than much of what we've seen in the Himalayas because it's just so different.
I think it's amazing.
I think I like Jennifer's hat.
You wearing Jennifer's hat?
Yeah, keep my bald head from getting burned.
Thomas, what did you say?
Oh, we are on the best day to be here.
Best day.
Very good luck. Super good. Amazing.
What did you say before? It's a gift.
Yes, totally, huh?
Today's a gift and now I see the gift here. Oh, Jennifer, you look like the mermaid in Copenhagen.
While their guide Thomas used his filtered pump to fill up their camelback water bags, they lingered a little longer to admire the amazing view of the 3 tower against the cobalt blue sky at Mirador Las Torres. Soon they set off on the 3-hour trek down the mountain for the last night at Hotel Las Torres. Tomorrow, they start their remaining 80 miles, 6-day trek from Hotel Las Torres to Pan Grande on the shore of Lago Paoe, completing most of the bucket list Torres Del Paine circuit trek. Today, they trek from Hotel Las Torres to Campamento Suran. Over the next 6 days, they will trek over mountains and cross streams as they make their way to Campamento Suran, Camp Dixon, Campamento Los Perros, braving gale force winds crossing the John Gardner mountain pass, sliding in the mud down the steep mountainside to the massive Glacier Gray, to camp at Refugio Gray, going on to their final destination at Pan Grande to finish with a day trek up to Campamento Italiano and Campamento French.
Second day, huh?
Day 2.
Day 2.
The trekking was relatively easy today.
Mirante Nieto Mountain.
Yeah?
They made good time to the mid-morning rest break.
Woo! A little nut break by the river.
They continued through the beautiful landscape, the vast explain, making them feel very small and insignificant in this beautiful part of the Andes Mountains. The sound of silence only been broken by the occasional birds or the rushing water of a passing stream. Around midday, they started walking in the middle of a vast expanse of daisies, trekking for more than 2 hours with these wildflowers covering the fields and mountainsides for as far as one could see.
Yeah, daisies.
Mid-afternoon, they arrived at Campamento Suran. After checking in and putting their trekking gear in their tents, they took a short walk to the Rio Paine. Finding a comfortable spot among the daisies, they put a couple of local beer named Austral, meaning southern in English, in the icy cold river.
Here we are. Austral.
Sitting in the field of daisies, they enjoy the amazing scenery From this spot in Patagonia, almost as far south as one can go in South America. Today is a long day with some serious ups and downs. Continuing hiking west over the Patagonian plains, they skirt the Paine River and Lago Paine with some incredible views of the Paine Massif, as well as the Dixon Glacier and Lake Dixon before the steep descent towards their Camp Refugio Dixon. It is an early morning and it's raining.
Last night was quite miserable. The winds were blowing in such gusts that many times I thought the tent was blowing away with me. Which means that it's until about 1 o'clock there was no sleep. After 1 o'clock the wind slowed down, started raining, and it is still raining now. It's gonna be a wet day and cold too. So, we sit around here for 2 hours. I've been standing out here for 15 minutes. We wait until it rains like hell and then we take off, huh?
Yes. We might not stop.
Beautiful day. I think my legs are gonna work. You did a miracle last night. The sole on my left boot is delaminating. I meant to apply some Gorilla Glue to it last night.
You forgot?
On your boot?
Yeah, that's coming loose. And I said to Jennifer, no, it doesn't get water in.
It does.
I was wrong.
The trek along the Rio Paine was easy at first, but very wet still, even as the rain started letting up. But a big surprise awaited them just 2.5 miles into the trek.
Straight up that mountain there, huh?
Suddenly the trail followed a steep climb straight up the mountainside. They climbed almost 800 feet in less than half a mile.
This is the second Lake Dixon. So we camped where the river snakes, on the left of that, where the clouds are formed a little bit.
But the climb was worth the view, as they breathlessly started to descend to Lake Paine.
Which orchid is that?
Porcelana.
And you never stop to get amazed by all of this, huh?
See, I get amazed all the time.
I get to use my poles to slow me down. Everything is so different. Even in the same day, the same place is different.
For the rest of the morning, they trekked along the scenic shoreline of Lake Paine, arriving at the Coron Ranger Station around lunchtime.
Don't stop there. See where we're having lunch. About halfway, Thomas?
About halfway. It's a little more distance.
After lunch, they continued on the beautiful, undulating trail to Refugio Dixon.
Well, I didn't want to stumble as I come up here. There's our camp, there's the glacier.
The trail led through the most beautiful scenery, the Rio Paine on their right and the towering mountains on their left.
Think there's a pretty good view? Look at that. Well, so we did this in how long? We got about 5 minutes. So these are wild fuchsia.
less than an hour from Camp Dixon, the last surprise. Another 800 feet climbed before the steep descent to Refugio Dixon.
Half an hour earlier, Dixon.
At last they arrived at Camp Dixon, nestled on the shore of Lago Dixon. After pitching the tents, Opa examined his delaminating hiking boot sole. Next, a hot shower, dinner, and early to bed.
I was very pleased with how this shell performed, which I first got when I went to Kilimanjaro in 2008. Many ski trips, 2 trips to Everest Base Camp, as well as the Inca Trail in Peru. So, kept me dry and warm while we were in some pretty inclement, nasty weather this morning. Got my shoes were a little bit wet, I suppose, my socks. Got everything dried in literally less than minutes in the wind and the dry air. So get ready to go take a shower now.
Today they trek west from Refugio Dixon, following the roaring Los Perros River through primeval beech forests, climbing through snow, rain, and wind to camp at Campamento Los Perros, set in a peaceful old growth forest. After breakfast in the communal dining room, Tomas fixed Opa's detaching hiking boot sole athletic tape.
My delaminating boot sole.
How's the pressure?
It's good, it's tight, but it's gonna be fine.
It will stretch.
So Thomas, what's the plan today?
So today, we hike up the valley. The Perros Glacier is gonna be there. So as we go,
We need some horses now because there's not much from here to a couple of days, huh?
It'd be nice if we could be on the horse.
Yeah, that would be even better. Well, we got quite a climb today. We'll see you up there. There goes our camp here.
The rain has stopped, and they entered a fantasy land of lush vegetation. About 3 kilometers into the climb, they had a beautiful view of Lago Dixon. They continued up the mountain and arrived at Mirador Valle de Las Perros, the Valley of the Dogs viewpoint.
Panoramic view of the valley that we're going to hike to right
The trek through the valley was beautiful, with some steep ups and downs. Just before lunch, they crossed the roaring Los Perros River.
beautiful mountain river, huh?
now. Here, with the glacier there in the background.
Fed by the
Tomas
Los
taking
Perros
pictures.
Glacier, the river continues to gouge a deep wound into the gorges of this beautiful part of the southern Andes Mountains. Lunch was delicious in this idyllic place. After lunch, some serious climbing started as they made their way up the mountain to Los Perros, hanging glacier and lake, beautifully set in an impressive moraine landscape. The wind was amazing, with frequent gusts forcing them to kneel down and hold on to a rock for fear of being blown right off the mountain. The wind continued to pummel them as they started the last mile and a half of today's trek. Having made it to the highest point of the day, some downhill and flat trekking before reaching Los Perros camp was welcomed.
Very interesting trek today, 6 hours. With the wind blowing you off the rocks very easily, you gotta be very careful how you walk. Here we are arriving at Los Perros.
Campamento Los Perros was very basic, but at least there were 2 toilets for more than 20 campers. They pitched their tents before dinner in the crowded common dining room. Amazed at the meal, Tomas prepared all the utensils and ingredients, having been carried here over the past 4 days by Tomas and their 2 wonderful porters. Today they climb up to the highest point of the trek, the John Gardner Pass or Windy Pass, to slide down in the steep and slippery mountainside, descending to Campamento Grey 3,600 feet lower.
Breaking up camp for our 5th day hike. This is gonna be 14 miles, but about 11 hours. Supposedly the hardest. Quite a bit of elevation change.
The trail was immediately steep over the difficult terrain of boulders and muddy tree roots.
That's a 10.
Told me this moose is solid.
Last night, Tomas got some glue from the horsemen. He glued Opa's boot sole before wrapping it again in athletic tape. They were curious to see how it would hold up trekking through mud, rain, snow, and rivers today.
It's a little mistake, but it'll dry.
Climbing ever higher on a gentle slope through dense vegetation, they suddenly were on a rocky, scree slope high above the valley below. Ever upward, they crossed cascading streams of melting snow water, struggling to keep a foothold against the strengthening wind.
That's a strong wind! Not yet, eh? Getting stronger? Can you lift you up, eh? Yeah. Hold on, I'll get my, here, go ahead, I'll get my glove.
Taking a break to rest on the steep, rocky trail, they waited to let another group pass.
Lala.
They continued higher up the mountain, the rain and wind never letting up.
Yeah, no, listen, the sole is sticking, look at that. I'll just keep that on so I wouldn't have to carry it.
You know you're not allowed to leave that tape on the mountain.
For snow.
Trudging through snow, leaning into the ever-increasing wind, they finally saw the pass on the horizon.
Well, they said it's going to be windy up here. Not kidding. I'm not even up at the top yet. Here we go. Leaning into the wind.
Walking over the shoulder of the pass, suddenly the wind dropped, the rain stopped, and there, far below, a rainbow over Glacier Gray.
Wow, it comes clear around the side of that mountain there. And just think about it, and 4 days ago we were way on the other side of those towers.
The climb down to Lago Gray and the glacier was steep, muddy, and slippery. And unfortunately, Brian twisted his ankle badly. Tomas wrapped his ankle with athletic tape, and they continued down the mountain, crossing streams and a couple of high suspension bridges.
Wow, the color on that. Tomas says this is one of his favorite passages, like an enchanted forest, right, Thomas? And the tree. The light's so different in here.
At the bottom of Glacier Gray, a sheet of ice 30 feet high and the size of a football field. Crossing the last suspension bridge, the end of the long day's hard trekking was in sight.
So I said, if anybody told me a couple of days ago, even yesterday, that after 11 hours or more, 11 and a half hours of hiking, I'd feel this good, ready for a beer, I would have said, no way.
They pitched their tents to camp for the night at Camp Gray.
Tomas gets the honor of unwrapping the bandage.
See, ready?
Yeah, it's filming.
Lucky him.
Look at that. And there's
Spoiler alert! Brian did not twist his ankle, he broke it and required surgery once he returned to New York. But even with a broken ankle, he completed this trek and another 5 days in Antarctica.
Well, it's 10 to 10 at night, and I'm about ready to go to bed after a lovely day of almost 12 hours trekking, and pretty much everything is totally dried out. Well, the boots, a different story. I actually feel like I don't want to go to bed. It's just so beautiful to be here. Just wish I could share this with Katie, Thomas, Yuki, Rusey, Jessica, Dan, Gavin, and Lolly.
Our trackers were up early, ready for trek day 6 from Lago Grey to Paine Grande at Lago Paoe.
From?
So we are here in Camp Gray, and we're going to Camp Paoe at Paine Grande. That's the right ridge. So we have about maybe 4 or 5 hours slow moving.
This morning, Tomas taped up Brian's ankle.
Hyperextended his ankle yesterday, all swollen and colored, but he's a real trooper.
Not knowing that it was actually broken, they set off on a brisk pace. They tracked along Lago Grey, the Grey Glacier is now some distance behind them, and the edge of Lago Paoe in the distance.
Well, it's pretty hiking through these flowers.
Trekking along Lago Grey was relatively easy, and the scenery was spectacular.
Nice smile. Got it. So these are wild currants. What's the real name?
Sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla. Pretty sweet. Foxes eat them, people eat them apparently. We're having very purple poop tomorrow.
Sarsaparilla is a perennial plant that is medicinally similar to ginseng, with the same invigorating and medicinal qualities.
Coming down with the horses.
Yeah.
Through here. The same picture.
Taking a last look back at the Grey Glacier, they continued the trek along Lago Grey. Soon they started climbing higher. Gaining 800 feet in a short distance, they soon made it to the top of the climb and braved the terrific wind to enjoy the last view of Lago Grey and the Grey Glacier. Finding a spot out of the wind, they stopped for lunch.
Brian just said it's what? Good to be on this side of the dirt. Just grateful to be out here today. Oh, salami! Avocado and cheese, queso. Doesn't get better than this, guys. Hey!
Braving the gusting wind, they continued the trek.
Pretty amazing. Small lake, does it have a name?
See, Patos.
Oh, this is Patos. Okay.
Ducks.
And Lake Grey is 100 meters
Away. It means a hidden place.
They were excited to see the first beautiful turquoise color of Lago Piauí, knowing that their destination for the day was now just a short distance away.
Ay, so happy. Sobreviviste. Se ve más fuerte.
Thank you, Chewbacca.
A fireplace. We're gonna have, snacks there.
Tired and thirsty, they were pleased to find that Tomas has arranged a private room with a spectacular view of the Pine Grande Massif in the distance. This is the destination of tomorrow's trek, their last day, completing their 7-day adventure.
Beer.
So that we can have that with our Austral.
And look what's in front of you. The sign of the cuernos. Look.
Austral.
Beer and the cuernos. Chocolate.
Early morning, Tomas, Jennifer, and Opa set out for the last day in Patagonia. Brian decided to give his ankle a break. No pun. They still had a week in Antarctica ahead of them. Today is a round trip from Refugio Pine Grande to the Mirador France viewpoint, a total elevation gain of almost 2,000 feet up and the same distance down. Within the first hour of the trek, Tomas spotted a puma across the valley. The cougar or mountain lion of North America is known as the puma in South America. Patagonian pumas are the largest of the species in the Americas. With an uncommon higher density rate, this national park is one of the best places in the world to watch and photograph wild pumas. The trek into the French Valley is one of the most spectacular ones in the Pine Massif, taking them below the glaciers that descend from the Massif's highest summit, the 9,000-foot Pine Grande, and the gray granite peaks of the Cuerno de Paine, the horns topped with fantastic black horns of slate. Trekking along the shore of Lago Scottsburg, they arrived at a small forest of dead trees. The scenery was at once haunting and beautiful. Started by an irresponsible camper in 2012, the fire burned 42,000 acres. This forest may take a lifetime to recover. Just before Campamento Italiano, they crossed the French River on an old rickety bridge that could only handle one person at a time. Taking a mid-morning break here, Tomas explained the plan for the rest of the day.
So from here we have an hour on the side of the moraine. It's not as steep as the base of the tower, but it's similar to that hour. Steady uphill. Then we have lunch there for a half hour or so, and then we come back. So we basically will have 1-2 hours coming back to here, then 3, 5 plus lunch, so 6 hours. Okay. When we go to the viewpoint, we're basically going to keep up the pace. We're not really going to get there later than 6 o'clock.
Campamento Italiano marks the start of the French Valley and the second part of today's trek. This leg is more difficult than the first because the trail is much steeper and very rocky, with huge boulders to maneuver around. The trail is not always obvious, but the route is marked fairly well with orange posts and red circles painted on the rocks. There is something primeval about drinking water right out of a stream. How nice to be able to dip a water bottle into a crystal clear stream and have a drink while admiring the many hanging glaciers from where this water just came.
Take water like a food.
They don't make water any better than this, huh?
Amazing.
Okay, well, this is close.
Yeah, but for many people this is the day one. For us it's the last day.
Day 7, huh?
Yeah.
The trek from Refugio Pine Grande up the French Valley has it all. The
Fortaleza?
sweeping vista across Lago Nordenskjold, the open country to the south, the Andes Mountains to the west, and the rugged cliffs, peaks, and hanging glaciers that make this part of Patagonia so spectacular, all on a scale that defies description.
Here to the peak of Pine Grande. It's 9,000 feet, huh?
There's Jennifer getting ready for lunch. Tomas got his out already.
I wonder what they made today.
Think mine is going to be a surprise. Couldn't have lunch in a better spot than this.
Thomas, I think I made the best sandwich today.
Hey, they made it just like you wanted.
Yeah, just like I wanted it. Ham and cheese with toast, mayonnaise and some lettuce. This is the best place that one could ever have a lunch, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Work hard to get up here. And now you see this view.
The sun heats up the black rocks and absorb, and then it melts even from below. Yeah.
Still in awe of the amazing panoramic views, they started their 5-hour trek back down the French Valley. Far down the French Valley, they saw the beautiful turquoise color of the glacier-fed Lago Paoe, still 5 hours
Here.
away.
It's 1:30. He's starting down. We ought to be back by 6 o'clock, huh? Or thereabouts. It's a good full day's hike, Jennifer. Yeah. 11 miles, they say, but that's as the crow flies.
For a while, they scrambled over boulders along the upper French River. All this water coming from the melted French glacier
That's
they
very
just
impressive.
visited a short while ago. Just above Compimente Italiano, they take a break for another refreshing drink of the crystal clear French glacier water. Arriving at Campamente Italiano in good time, they crossed back over the French River. In less than an hour, they arrived at the Puma spot, but alas, the Puma had moved on. Late afternoon, a welcome sight of the beautiful Lago Paoe and the Refugio Paine Grande Lodge, now just minutes away.
It's a privilege to be able to do this. The only thing lacking today was Brian. He was missed, but he did the right decision.
And down there is the ferry they will take tomorrow. Trekkers lining up to board the last trip of the day.
The shoe's done. It actually lasted until we got back. Look at that. Well, I'm gonna be so sad. Wonderful day again and a wonderful week.
No.
It's been amazing. Let's get the lake in the background.
Celebration.
We made it.
Yeah. Well,
We have one more member on the team.
To go check, yeah.
He's probably holding the beers for us.
I hope so. Don't be sitting here watching.
And there was Brian, waiting for them with some Austral beer and some snacks.
But you're right if you're going.
These are my goods which I've had since Kilimanjaro. I bought them the year I went to Kilimanjaro. I bought them at Galleons, which doesn't exist anymore today. So that's how long I've had them.
And how many treks have you had with you?
So they've been at Kilimanjaro, it's my first trek, and then both Everest treks. They've been in Ethiopia, they've been in Alaska 4 times, they've been through the bush in Africa many times, and now they've been in Patagonia, and that's what did them in. Whoa!
Oh, Pa, you forgot the Inca Trail and Machu Picchu in Peru.
Now I'm retiring. And then this one had the same problem. He said, "Oh, my life is over." Now this one also had a hole there. And then today, this came off. I think we're going to retire with these shoes. Bye bye.
Group.
No, stop recording. Stop recording.
GoPro, stop recording.
He doesn't know your name.
Yes, you did.
He did?
Yeah. GoPro, stop recording.
Today, the last day in Patagonia, they take the catamaran ferry to Puerto Jetty, where their driver will meet them for the drive back to Puerto Natales. A beautiful morning, but windy of course. Tomas and one of their porters hold their duffel bags down the jetty as the catamaran ferry appeared in the distance. Soon, they were on their way for the 30-minute crossing of Lago Paoe, enjoying dramatic views of the Paine Massif and the impressive black slate horn of Torres Del Paine. Just before arriving at Puerto Jetty, a final surprise. An impressive waterfall as the turquoise water of Lago Nordenskjold cascades down and into Lago Paoe. And braved a different kind of traffic jam on the 2-hour drive to Puerto Natales. After Tomas wrapped Brian's ankle with new athletic tape, they went shopping. Opa needed a new pair of boots for their next adventure, Antarctica.
Right.
So tonight we're at Altiplanico, one of the nice restaurants with a great food. It's a selection.
Awesome.
Guys, yes.
And it's right here
They
underwater.
met Tomas at the Iglesias planet for their farewell dinner.
Okay, Thomas, you do it again.
So let's do a toast for your trip in Patagonia.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you proved your father how strong you are in the mountain.
Well, for a fantastic trip, thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
Awesome.
You were the last on the trail. No one could follow you on the trail. All the other you guys were fed on something we don't know.
No, he was fed on whey.
On the second night of the trek, Tomas treated Opa's leg cramps with a concoction made from whey protein powder.
Yeah, that way was awesome. That way was
Amazing.
that way was amazing.
And so the banter continued until bedtime.
Placebo is fine. I'm good with the placebo effect.
Well, it worked for me.
It's beautiful.
That's all that matters.
It was worth it.
Go brush it off.
They boarded the van for the last 3-hour drive south, stopping to take pictures of the wild, large-leaved lupine lining the roads for miles. After meeting up with the rest of their group, they visited some of the memorable sites and monuments, including the Ferdinand Magellan Memorial in this historical southernmost city in South America, the gateway to the Strait of Magellan, and the Drake Passage to Antarctica. They saw the replica of Ferdinand Magellan's ship and the original James Caird.
This is the James Caird. That is the boat that Shackleton crossed the Drake Passage. 13 days at sea in this boat with 80-foot waves and sometimes 100-mile-an-hour winds.
This evening, they got their credentials for their crossing to Antarctica, and the next day departed with their friends for part 2 of their adventure.